For the past 8 years, I've worked in various roles across different companies, looking at changing or implementing processes using proven tactics to get results. However, I noticed some time ago that I had actually ignored these same principles in my own personal life. Once I started to look at my own routines and my own processes for doing things the way I would in my work, then I noticed a huge difference.
One of the main reasons we don't see the changes we want in life is because we stick to the same routines day in and day out. And after a while, we become slaves to these processes. We do things the same way every time because that's how we've always done them. Now, if I asked you which processes need to be improved in your life, then you might list just about everything you can think of. But lesson number 1 is to be selective about what to improve. Just because a routine of yours could be better, doesn't mean this is where you should start. Time is always limited and we can't improve everything at once. Therefore, the question becomes, how do you choose what to improve?
There are a few different ways to do this. Firstly, ask yourself what takes up most of your time. If you find yourself that throughout the week that chores take up a lot of it, then that's a good place to start. You want to try and make it as efficient as possible.
The next question is, what do you not have a process for at all? For example, if you want to get in shape but you never work out, then it might be tempting to overhaul your diet and start a workout routine. But it's better to focus on the workout routine first because there's no process there already. That's not to say your diet isn't important, but your current one might be good enough as a placeholder. Then, once you've built up an exercise routine, you can go back and refine your diet later.
Finally, ask yourself what you can improve without having to wait for something. So for example, if you end up working out that getting a dishwasher is really going to save you a lot of time, then that's great. But if you can't afford one right now, then put that idea in the back burner and focus on something that you can improve straight away.
Once you have a list of personal routines you want to improve, then it's time to look at the resource versus return on investment. Often in companies I've worked in, you can see a clear issue which needs addressed, but there isn't enough time to tackle it. Or the time is there, but fixing it would only make a 5 or 10% difference, so it's not worth the effort. It's best just to make do with what's already in place. This is where we come to the high-low division of resource and return on investment.
So this diagram here shows what I'm talking about. We have this box here, both high and low on both sides, and on one side we have resource and on the other we have return on investment. So your resource might be things like the time and money or the effort you're putting into something, and then the return on investment again could be time and money you're getting out of it, but it's maybe more catered as well depending on what you're doing. So for example, if you're losing weight, then how many pounds you've lost, for example. Now, obviously, what you want to look at doing here is you want to end up avoiding anything that's going to be a high resource and high effort and time and money that's going to be a low benefit to you. So something that's going to be a case of it's only be a 5 or 10% difference. You obviously want to avoid anything that falls into that sort of category. But what you want to look at is when you balance out the sort of how much resource put in, how much benefit you get out of it, you'd obviously want to look at anything low to high. You want something that's going to take a kind of low effort and resource, but you're going to get a big benefit out of it. Me, for example, personally, I started doing mindfulness a few years ago and it was only like 10 minutes out of my day, but I found a really big benefit for it. So for me, that falls into this category. It's a small resource, a small effort, but I get a huge benefit from it.
The only caveat is that these types of improvements can be exhausted quite quickly and shouldn't be your only focus. There will always be things which can be high in both categories, but are absolutely worth doing. If you're in a lot of credit card debt, then you might need to work hard to manage your money, refrain from any frivolous purchases, and seek out sales whenever possible. This would take a lot of effort and time, but the reward will be high as well, so it's worth doing. Once you know what routine you want to improve, it's time to map it out. This doesn't need to be fancy or convoluted, but a simple list of each step you take to accomplish something will suffice. Mapping out a process alone can help identify obvious improvements which you weren't even aware of. For example, when it comes to food shopping, then it might be the following. Step 1. Go on a Saturday morning to the supermarket. Maybe this is about 20 minutes away for you. Step 2. Decide as you go, don't take any sort of list. And maybe it takes you around 45 minutes to get everything and get out. Step 3. You come home and put everything away, which maybe takes another 15 minutes. Step 4, go back halfway through the week and pick up things you've forgotten.
So already there are a couple of obvious things that stand out here. One is the lack of organisation that's causing you to repeat steps again, and secondly the time it's taken to do this every week. So a couple of maybe obvious fixes would be put a list together so you don't have to go again later in the week to pick up more shopping, and secondly, maybe look at home delivery to save you having to travel there every week.
Now I know it might seem boring to map out the process of how you do your shopping, but it might just be something you need to do once. Also, if you're not organising it properly, then you're just making things hard on yourself anyway, and wasting time in something mundane rather than living your life. So it's worth the effort. Finally, it's vital that you track your progress once you change your routine. Things like how much weight you've lost, money you've saved, or the time it now takes you to do something are easy to track. These will show you whether the steps you've taken are effective and if any refinement is needed. But this also helps with another very important factor: motivation.
So imagine you're running on a treadmill and you set yourself a goal of running for 10 kilometers, but you can't actually see how far you've come and how far you've got to go to get to that target. After a while, the more tired you got, the more disheartening this would become, because you had no idea how much progress you've already made and you've no idea how far you've got to go. It could just be 1 kilometer, it could be 5.
At the end of the day, we're human, and we need something to fuel us to keep going. And if you can clearly see how much progress you've made, it can make all the difference. Seeing how close we are to a certain target helps us keep pushing to see it through.
The only caveat to this is not to measure too frequently. Sometimes if you're going to implement a new sort of routine for yourself, you need to give it time to see the benefits of it. Yes, there will always be some that will have a quick, big impact, but you also want as well to give enough time for things to materialise. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and if there's any personal routines that you're struggling to improve or implement changes to. I really hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you did, I'll put a link to some other videos which I think you might also enjoy as well.